Hi, I'm Stefan, the BMW DIY guy, and do you want to improve the sound of your M2, M3, or M4? I'll show you how. All right, so let's talk about this project a little bit before we do it and the reasons why you might want to do this on your car. Now, I hope that you got a chance to see my Active Autowerke equal length mid-pipe install and review video, because I always do both. I hope you got a chance to see that on the differences that has made on my G87 M2. Now, what I wanted to add though, because I just love Active Autowerke products, I love having them on my car, and I loved the way they made my F87 M2 Competition sound with the whole kit all the way through. So the mid pipes were just the beginning. I still have the OEM back box on, or exhaust, and we're going to swap that out today with the back box from Active Autowerke. Now, some of this I'm going to have to walk you through a little bit because obviously I've already cut my mid-pipe when I installed the equal length. So I will show you that process from the previous install. So if you're just installing this exhaust, that's okay. If you have the OEM mid-pipe still, that's okay. And I'm gonna walk you through this, and I'm gonna show you what I was done before and then step into the install for the new exhaust. Now, lastly, before we get underneath the car, obviously my car's already in the air. Whenever you're working underneath your car, please be careful. I'm always gonna say this. If you're using jacks, always use jack stands. Use Quickjacks like I've got. I love their product. I don't wanna use anything else now. So get your car safely in the air, and then let's get underneath and see what we need to do. All right, y'all, so here we are underneath the car. Let's take a look at the entire exhaust line so we know what we're looking at and the work that we're going to be doing. Now I'm going to share all the different socket sizes and tools and everything that you need to do this work, but you really only need a few simple tools. So now, starting here at the rear of the car, one of the very first things we want to look at, and I'll get my hand out of the shadow, you should see 3 sets of dimples. 1, 2, 3. I'll come back to this when we actually cut them, but we're going to be cutting at the middle dimple on both sides. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, we're gonna cut right at the middle. I'm gonna show you that as we get there. Now, one of the very first things you're going to do, and I'm gonna grab a large hose clamp, is I'm gonna take a large hose clamp and put it around the pipe, because that allows me to make sure that I make an even mark. So get yourself a medium to large hose clamp, put it around this pipe, and then use a pencil to mark all the way around on both sides. Okay, so I'll get that set up and I'll show you what that looks like. But it's really simple and an easy trick to make sure that you get a straight line, so when we cut this, we're not scalloping or causing any problems. Okay, so go ahead and get your hose clamp and a pencil, and I'll show you what that looks like. All right, so I still got the hose clamp on this side because I just wanted to show you what this looked like. Just tightened it down so it's nice and straight all the way around the pipe, and then draw a really bold pencil line. You can always use a permanent marker or whatever you got handy. On this side, you can see my line already. That's here. It goes right through those middle dimples. Now, a couple of things. You can use whatever you want to cut this. You can use a Sawzall. I'm a big fan of Hackzall because it's actually a little bit smaller and lets you manipulate the blade a little bit easier. You don't have the length and size of a Hackzall, but I've definitely used a lot of Hackzalls to cut pipes. So also, in addition, this may sound silly, but make sure to wear eye and or face protection. Cutting an exhaust, I took some hot metal into the eye a couple of years ago, and it took about a month to heal. It was really a big deal. Okay, so I just have a simple, cheap, full-face plastic shield. It's nothing serious. It cost me like $2, and it keeps hot metal out of my face, because as you cut this, you want to be looking and be very close, and looking to make sure you've got a good, clean, straight cut all the way across. All right, so once you have your pipes cut, it's going to approximately look like this. Like I mentioned, I've already installed the Active Autowerke equal length mid pipe. So I've got the connections here, and I've just slid them back to show you the cuts, right? This is what it would look like when you're done. You'd have your OEM mid pipe up here, and then you'd have your exhaust here cut at the middle dimple. Okay, so once that's done, you can look onto actually taking your back box down by itself. Now, there's a couple of things. It's all on hangers. These are 13 millimeter nuts that are up here. There's hangers on both sides, here and here. In addition, you've got back hangers back here. You're gonna need a long extension to get all the way up to where the hanger is up in here. I know that's a little bit dark right at the moment, but you can see it right there. But before you do that, you're gonna wanna unplug your exhaust flaps. Now, the other thing that you're going to want to do in this case is, my car was inefficient, which means my exhaust flaps are closed. So make sure that your exhaust flaps are closed, which is your motor position here. So when we transfer this to the new exhaust, we're going to transfer it in the exact same position. If you don't, you can burn out your motors, and these are about 150 bucks a piece, which is just silly. So make sure to note your exhaust flap position, because your exhaust flap is right here. Mine would be closed on both sides. Go ahead and unplug. Go ahead and unplug your exhaust flap. You're going to pull down the little tab right here, and then the plug will back itself off on both sides. So unplug your exhaust flaps, undo your hangers, drop your exhaust, and go ahead and roll it out from underneath the car. So once you have the back box out, you can see how it's all laid out. What I will normally do is I will take and I'll lay out the new one in the exact same orientation, so I know which orientation that the hangers go on, because you're going to be pulling 4 hangers off. The back one's on the exhaust itself, and then the 2 on the upper pipes. Now do notice that they've done a cool job in labeling the pipes, driver's side and passenger side as well. So you can just kind of get them laid out. So what you're going to want to do first is go ahead and transfer the hangers, and then we're going to walk through about transferring your exhaust flap valve motors right there. But with the exhaust hangers, what I normally do, you can see it's got this little flange right here. I normally just work them off. Just you do it by hand. There is a tool that you can get that kind of presses them out. I've never found it all that useful, honestly. Okay, so go ahead and get your hangers off, put them back up in the same orientation on the new pieces, and then we're going to walk through getting your flap motors off. All right, so once you have the hangers transferred, we're going to transfer the motors. Now, I've gone ahead and taken the motors off on the OEM exhaust. They're 3 10mm bolts, and we're going to reuse those bolts when it goes back into this position here. Now, there is a motor clip right here that you can see that I already have in place. Let me pull it back out here for a second. You want to use the loop end into the flap slot right there. Okay, this is the driver's side right at the moment. Now, the other thing you want to do is go ahead and look in there. A little bit dark to see right now, but you can see your flap move, right? So this is where you want to ensure that your flaps are closed when you shut down the car, and then they're closed when you're installing. So you just simply get this pin in place, and then you're going to take the motor. It's going to rotate around. You can see where it only goes in one orientation right here, and then the slot here on the armature of the motor itself is going to go right over the top of that pin. Now, it's a little bit hard for me to do one-handed right at the moment, but you'll just slot this in place, and you can tell that the loop here is on the motor side of the car. You've got the loop side here in on the valve itself, and then just slot it into place on the motor, put those 3 bolts in, and then go ahead and do the other side. So once all that's done, you're ready to hang this back in the car. I usually will hang the box section first, because it will essentially hold itself with the 2 hangers on each side. Also, when I do the flap motors, I do them one at a time so I don't mix them up. Probably doesn't make a difference, but I do it that way just in case, to make sure I don't swap sides on those. Okay, so go ahead and take this now. This back box is much lighter than the OEM, so go ahead and take it back, hang it back up off those hangers and those 13mm nuts, and then we're going to get the connection pipes in next. All right, so the exhaust box is light enough to do this really with one hand. You can always brace it up with a jack stand or something similar. I just fit the hanger over the post, screwed the nut on, then secured it, came over and did it on the other side. And now it can just hang here for now. So now what we want to do is join our pipes. So go ahead and take your couplers here, put one on the mid-pipe side, which I already have mine set. These are 13mm nuts, and you can loosely hang everything for now. So go ahead and take the passenger side, hang it. Go ahead and put one of the couplers here as well, so you can hang the pipe in place and it'll stay. Go ahead and do the same for the driver's side. The other thing that I did is I also pulled the stickers off. The driver's side and passenger side sticker. It's probably not a big deal, but I suspect they might burn off over time with the exhaust getting hot. So I just slipped those off once I got them into the correct position, and I know which side of the car they're going to go on. So go ahead and put your connections on, put your mid-pipes on, and then we're going to start to fit this all into place. All right, so the pipes are on, and the hangers are connected to help keep them in place, but nothing is tight yet. So you can see everything is still loose. Now this is where you're gonna have to work on fitment a little bit, and I'm gonna suggest being patient. So as you go at this also affects the angle of your exhaust tips as well, right? So you're gonna wanna tip it up for it to be level. But if you look right here, you go too far, you're going to start to hit the frame. So this is where I take these clamps and I cinch them down to snug. Not so tight that I can't move the pipes, but enough that they'll hold in place decently. So then I will start to adjust and get these set. Like this one, I'm probably going to adjust first here on the on the driver's side. I want to make sure I've got good clearance right here. So I'm going to get this set up here in a good position. Then I'm going to tighten this down to just snug. I'm going to try it here on the same side because all of this affects, as you can see, the exhaust tips move. All of this will affect the angle of your exhaust tips. So you want to make sure that they're nice and level. So tighten these down, get this set, and start to level the whole system out. But double check that you've got clearance at all of your suspension points all the way through. Okay? All right, so get that done, and I'll show you what that looks like. All right, so everything's tightened down, looks pretty good. These clamps really help straighten out the pipes. I've cinched them down completely. I've checked all of my clearances along all of the areas that you might get a little bit of metal contact, including the clamps. If you move that flange too far back, it'll start to hit your suspension. One of the other tricks that I do is I hit it. That way you're going to get about the maximum amount of wiggle that you're going to get out of the pipes, and I'm not hitting anything. So I've got good clearance up at my cross support. Everything along the way is good and solid. Now, the last thing you're going to want to do is Active includes a series of extensions for your exhaust flaps. So you're going to want to plug in your exhaust flap because it's now in a different position. Plug in your exhaust flap and plug it into your original cable. I usually will take any excess and tuck it up behind the heat shield right here. This is a 10mm screw. So I'm going to pull that out, tuck the cabling up back behind the heat shield so this doesn't get hit or in the way in any way. All right, so go ahead and get both those extensions on and you're almost done. All right, so the exhaust tips are adjustable, which allows you to really have them in almost any depth that you want to have them. Now, if you look at the OEMs, the inners are actually out just a smidge further. You can see that raked cut on the inner to the outer exhaust tips. So I'm going to do similar in this case, where the inners are going to be out a little bit more than the outers. The other thing I do is I also take the clamp and adjust it into the down position, so I can get to that nut very easily from underneath the car when I simply slide this into place. So just like that. So then I can adjust, kind of get into the right orientation that I want to have it in, where I want the inners out just a little bit more. I have the logo up on top, slide the outers back a little bit, and then I can get to that post really easily here from underneath with a 13mm socket. So go ahead and have them just snug enough that they'll hold in place. See, this one is loose, so it's going to rotate on me. So I just have them snug enough that you can rotate them a little bit. Often take a tape measure as well to compare both sides. Are both, pairs, the outer pairs in the same place or the inner pairs in the same place. Obviously, this one needs to be a little bit tighter to hold into position. But just adjust how you like them. So go ahead and get them set, tighten them down, and you're done. All right, y'all, so go ahead and clean up and put your tools away. And you can tell this is not a hard project whatsoever. It's something you can easily do yourself, and it's going to dramatically change the sound of your car. Now, on that note, what's it sound like? I always get those questions, and it's worthy of a separate video. Make sure to check out my comparison video where we have bone stock, we have the EL mid-pipe with the OEM back box, and then we have the EL mid-pipe from Active and the new back box from Active, and you can compare all three, and it's a lot better than just tacking it on to the end of my DIY video. Make sure to check that out. Thank you to Active Autowerke for making a fantastic product. I love having their gear on my car, and it makes a huge difference. Please make sure to click like and subscribe. It makes a huge difference to my channel, and I would truly appreciate it. Plus, you'll get notifications of all my upcoming content, including new model reviews, new DIYs, new events, everything you can think about. I can't wait to show you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on my next project.